Welcome, sport management class. With my Zoomcast interview, I am joined today by Greg Coleman. Would you like to introduce yourselves to the folks?
Sure. Greg Coleman. I am the president of the Erie Seawolves. I've been the president of Detroit's AA affiliate since 2011 and been in minor league baseball since 1998.
All righty. Do you enjoy working in minor league baseball?
Yeah, it's great. I really enjoy what I do because it's rewarding. You get a chance to make a lot of people happy. 2 days are 2 days, right? They're always different. You know, they're never the same. So every day is just a little bit different, and you can really see the results of your work as well. It tends to be very visible to you. You can see when something's gone well. You can see when you have things that need improvement, and you always have another chance to reinvent yourself. We play 69 home games during the course of a year, and in those games, you know, you're going to make mistakes. Things are going to go great, and you have a chance to build on them or fix them. But you don't have to wait another week or another year for another shot.
That's great. So I have another question to go along with that. How did you get involved in the sport industry, and was that something you always wanted to do?
I think it's always something that I wanted to do. I think it took a while to get started a little bit. So I went to a school in central New Jersey called the College of New Jersey. Actually, at the time, it was called Trenton State, and they changed the name of the school before I actually got my diploma. So, yeah, I did that, and I did some things in college that certainly kind of led me to a career in sports that prepared me for it. I wrote for the college newspaper. I was the PR director for the college radio station. Um, I, uh, I played football in college, and then during my summer months, I actually helped plan and organize a series of college summer baseball leagues. I didn't know at the time exactly how much that would translate to what I do now for a living. I
Mhm.
was doing that already by the time I was, 20, 21 years old. And, it turns out that the same exact things that I was doing then translate now, whether that is working with sponsors or, organizing events, making sure that you have, umpires or officials for games or fields, reserved or equipment to be able to play. Those are all things that at some point or another, that experience helped me. So when I got out of school, it's not exactly at the time like there were sports management majors everywhere or sports opportunities everywhere. It was a very different time. You basically didn't even have the internet barely at that point.
Yeah.
So for me, I ended up getting a job in banking for about 2 years and started that, gained some professional experience, but also realized that it wasn't a path that I wanted to follow long term. So I had an opportunity to move to Florida because of a change in my life. I was going to get married, and that gave me a chance to press reset. And I said, if there's something I want to do, what is that? And that for me was working in baseball. So fortunately, moving to Florida, there's spring training complexes. There's major league teams. There's minor league teams, and so it gave me a great opportunity. So it was a good opportunity to pursue my passion. And fortunately, I applied with a few teams, and I got an opportunity with a team in Daytona Beach, Florida.
That's great. So how would someone like myself go about into getting into the position you're at today? Or like, what steps did you take personally?
Well, I'll say that it takes definitely sacrifice. It takes being very nimble to be able to kind of pick up and go to an opportunity, because there aren't many opportunities. I mean, in our market, we've got a front office of 12 to 13 people at any given time. Each one of those has a specific set of skills. And so that means that sometimes positions aren't there that you need. And so, for instance, in our organization, the top four people have been together for 12 years. Well, if you are ready to move into one of those top positions, you've either got to wait 12 years or you've got to basically be flexible enough to go someplace where you can have the next step in your development. So if you want to get in, the best way to be able to get in is to build relationships and to gain an understanding of what teams do. At the most basic level, if you have an opportunity to pursue an internship, even if it is a limited number of credit hours or even a shadow experience,
Mhm.
something in order to be able to help you understand the basics of how an organization operates and what within the organization you might be interested in doing. I will tell you that from our standpoint, the most effective tool we have in order to be able to hire and develop people is to have them go through a 3 or 4 month internship with us so that we can understand them, get to know them. We learn a little bit about their strengths and weaknesses. And if they are ready at the end of that, in order to be able to enter the workforce, we'll offer them an opportunity if we have one. And if they are not ready because they've got another year or two of school, then they very much go on a short list for us that when they are available, then that's where we'll look. On the other hand, you also might find people who they just don't they don't know what they're getting themselves into. Like they like the idea of working in baseball, but haven't quite figured out that we play 69 home games over the span of 6 months, which is very different than playing, every other week in football for half the year. You have many more home openings and many more game days. So for folks that are sort of kicking the tires on a career in sports, getting in there and being able to see what it's about, you might know within a week that this is not my bag, that you might want to do something else, or you might know distinctively this is something I want to do within an organization, or this is something I might not want to do. I don't know how you know that until you've actually had a chance to kind of live that a little bit. So in terms of where you go from entering, I'll say in my role, it is pivotal in order to be able to have a broad scope of skills. So to be able to have done a lot of the things, a lot of the functions within an organization is helpful. The most in-demand skill set within sports, I guess, aside from probably the on-field talent, is going to be the ability to sell and generate revenue. So it's difficult for someone to get to my level and sit in my chair who has not directly gone out and been responsible for driving revenue for an organization. So that is definitely the most in-demand skill set. It also ends up being one that is, it's a little more, I don't say pressure packed, because I don't know if that's quite right. But I think a lot of times we'll see applicants coming out of school and the word sales has a stigma to it. But the fact of the matter is nothing happens at our place until somebody sells a ticket. So until we've generated some revenue, there is no business. So I think for someone who is open-minded, who likes to interact with people, and who likes who is self-motivated in order to get the best results they can, that's a great way to do it, and they can advance pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about sales and marketing, because I see that you have specialties in that area. Are those specialties like important for someone wanting to work in sports? Like if someone didn't have those, would it be much harder to get into the sports industry?
You're going to have fewer opportunities. It doesn't mean that you can't get in, because there are absolutely roles of people who, they may focus on a different area. I mean, in the last few years, there's been an explosion in the area of analytics. And and that's both on the field and off the field, and you're now finding more opportunities there. It was pretty much a segment that didn't exist if you were to go back 12 years ago, 10 years ago. But so you are seeing opportunities that are like that. However, if you kind of put yourself in a box and limit yourself by what you're willing to do, you're going to have fewer opportunities. And so a big piece of what we do is sell things. We sell tickets, we sell sponsorships, we sell our ideas, we sell merchandise, food and beverage. I mean, that is where it's coming from. Now, there are things that are a little bit different at the major league level than there are at the minor league level, and they are they have things like broadcast rights that are not really significant at the minor league level, and so you can get in without sales and marketing background. But it is a little bit like ordering off of just the appetizer menu. You'll have something to be able to eat, but you necessarily won't have everything that you could possibly want, because you just won't have as many options to go from.
That's a great way to put it. So for awards and stuff like that and achievements, you have the 2010 Marketer of the Year and just recently Executive or Minor League Executive of the Year. What award or like achievement has meant the most to you?
Well, I will tell you the Minor League Baseball Executive of the Year is a big one. That is one that when you get into this business, you may have certain things that you'd like to achieve, I'm not sure that in my wildest dreams, I think that I would have been named minor league baseball executive of the year. I think I've done some good things and have a great staff who supports a lot of what I do. So I thought certainly it was attainable, but it's simply a numbers game. I mean, there are 120 minor league teams. Every one of those has a staff of anywhere from between 10 and 60 people. It's a lot of people, and they give out one award a year. So statistically, probably not the most likely award in the world to win, but certainly something I'm very proud of, because I think, particularly with our franchise, we have accomplished a lot. I mean, when I got here in 2011, we had a team that wasn't financially healthy. We had a team that had change that had to be made. We had a ballpark that was built and had good bones, but was built for a short season brand of baseball, where you play from June through the middle of September, and we didn't have things like warm water in the bathrooms, which, by the way, is it's something you might want in the month of April when it's 40 degrees. So we were able to go through and change a lot of things. We went through an ownership change. We acquired naming rights to the ballpark, and we're able to go out and sell that to our partners at UPMC. We went through a transition in minor league baseball where over 40 teams lost their affiliation. We did not. We've made 16, now going on $17 million in upgrades to the ballpark. And this past year, we hit new franchise highs for sponsorship sales, ticket revenue, and merchandise revenue. And had, not surprisingly, our best financial year as a team. So we've come a long way. And so I certainly think the accolade for minor league executive of the year was I think I earned it as a team, not me. It's definitely, even though it's my name, it's a team award. So I think that for me means the most, because I think of where we came from, and where we came from. It was a validation that the people in the industry saw it, appreciated it, and recognized it. Now, I think there are some other things that probably came along the way that I appreciate as well. Different awards. When I was in Class A in Modesto, California, we won an award called the Bob Freitas Award, which is for franchise excellence at each level. They give away 4 of those a year. In Modesto, we had never won one of those, and we won that when I was a GM there, and I was a young GM at the time. I was in my my mid-20s. So I think that was a great bookend to it. Like, that was early in my career and showed that I could do it, and this was later in my career, which I guess indicated that I did do it. So those are both things I look back fondly on.
Okay. Can you describe like a day in the life of your job, like someone at your position, what they do daily, or if it changes?
Well, there's really two types of years, or 2 types of times of year, I should say. So there's in season, there's out of season.
Okay.
The out of season. Well, let me start back with an analogy here, because I think this helps set the table for it. We're in the event business, and we put on at the facility over 100 events a year, so 115, 125, somewhere in that range every year. And so I equate what we do to basically putting on a wedding. So there are people who get married. They spend 2.5 years leading up to this special day, and they do all of this planning to make sure things go seamlessly. And they invite their guests, and they book a church or a hall, and they plan for their reception, where they have entertainment and seating and a caterer and all those types of things. Well, what we're doing almost every day is executing a wedding. Instead of it being a guest list for us, it's the tickets that we've sold. For the entertainment, it might be our video board content or our in-game presentation, the sound effects that we have instead of a DJ or a band. We have the food that's at the concession stand, which is very similar to picking the menu from a caterer. So we're doing all that, except after you've spent 2 years leading up to this day when you get married. We have to do this every day. Like, we turn around, we do it again the very next day. So during the course of a year, we have about 3 days to be able to dream up, plan, and execute an event.
Hmm.
So we're constantly on to what's next. So during the half of the year that is considered the off season, that's when we do all of the planning. And so we are selling the ticket packages, we are selling the sponsorships, we are planning the promotional schedule, we are, planning all of the details that go into executing a game day. When we get to about a month before the season, we switch over into an operational mode where we are preparing the facility and we are executing the plan that we had in place. So you're going back and saying, okay, we said we were going to do this, this, and this, and this on opening night. We've
Hmm.
made the plans. Now let's make sure that the plans are executed. So during the off season, it is my business day is 9 to 4, but that's just the office hour, right?
Hmm.
It is whatever we really need to get done at a certain time of year. So if for me the day is longer, I often stay at the facility until 7 o'clock, even though I could go at 4,
Hmm.
because I want to make sure that we operate at a high level and we're prepared, and we have as great a product as we can do. In season, there are hours that are longer because they're necessary. When you open up the doors in the morning, open up the window at the ticket office, people are prepared to buy. They want to buy merchandise. They want to buy tickets. Someone has to be here to help them do that. But then you also have a game which may start at 1:35 or it may start at 6:05 at night.
Hmm.
So your in season when the team is home can be a very long day, especially one of those days when weather might be a factor, because we might have a situation where it's rained overnight. We have our tarp covering the field. We can't allow the tarp to stay on the field because we don't want it to burn the grass if the sun comes out or what. So we might have to get in at 8:30 in the morning to remove the tarp, go have breakfast, come back at 10, whatever, and then get into our actual business day and then be there until the game's over at night. So when the team is home, it can absolutely make for, what is an 80-hour week.
Hmm.
It can be very, very long. And then we try when the team is not home in order to try to give people opportunities to kind of recharge a little bit. If we can get everybody a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend when the team is out of town, we try to do it. But keep in mind, there's just always another series coming.
Hmm.
So even if I wanted to give everybody, a 4-day weekend, well, that means now I only have so many days to finish the execution for the next homestand. So it's very much when you get on it during the season, like a treadmill, it just keeps going, and so that makes the time of the year when you are not playing games so pivotal, because if you start the season and you are not prepared to a point where you are ready for that to go, you almost cannot catch up. And so it's important that we do that. So for us, by the time we get to opening day or the end of March, somewhere in that window, we know at that point where we're probably going to finish for the year, regardless of how many games we have rained out or how we finish as a team on the field record wise. We know this is where it's going to be because the off-season body of work takes us to a certain point, and we know from there we can go to a certain point.
Hmm. That's great. I like how you keep using the comparisons like the weddings and the treadmill, and it makes it
Yeah.
a lot easier to understand for me.
Yeah.
I have one more question. It's about like facing adversity and challenges. Like, have you ever faced adversity, like COVID or in the sports industry, and like, how did you overcome that?
I think everybody's faced some type of adversity. I mean, everybody has different challenges in life. Some are personal, some are professional. Uh, COVID was certainly a challenge for many people, but in recent years we faced several that were really as challenging as I'd want to go through ever again. And two of them happened back to back. And then we threw in COVID for good mix on top of that. But the two challenges we had at the end of the 2019 season, we had a very somber occasion. We had a player who, after we played our last home game of the year, he used to get to and from the ballpark by riding a motorized skateboard.
Hmm.
And he did not have a helmet on, and he fell and he hit his head, and he never regained consciousness, and he passed away.
Mm.
And we had played our last game of the year at home. We still had 4 more games to go on the road. We were still in contention for a playoff berth, and having to navigate that experience, aside from the fact that obviously you had someone who you care about who is fighting for their life and trying to get through that, also trying to manage the information in terms of all the people who are I don't want to use the word stakeholders, but it's the only one that comes to mind. All the people who have an interest in wanting to know: his teammates, his coaches, his parents. This particular player happened to be from Hawaii, so his family was not anywhere near Erie, Pennsylvania, and trying to get through that.
Mm.
Of course, the Detroit Tigers, who signed him and assigned him to Erie, all of them wanted to be kept abreast, and so being there, going through this, and being the eyes and ears of many people bedside was really it really resets your priorities if you think about life in a certain way. And so he did pass away. We did get through it. Ultimately, we did some things to try to honor his legacy. I don't know if you can see this on camera or not, but I have a somewhere down here. I have a purple wristband that has his name on. I haven't taken this thing off since 2019, just to remind me that there are things that are important in life, and living the life the way that he did. His name's Chase Numata. Really helps be kind of my North Star, because I know that I can have a positive impact as long as I approach every day with a positive outlook that he did. So that was the first thing that we really had to battle through as an organization, that grief and that loss, and how to do that. And we did create a scholarship in his name, so every year we take time to remember him. So the second thing was that about 2 months after that happened, Major League Baseball decided that they were going to reorganize the minor leagues, and they were going to reduce the number of teams by 42. And a report had leaked out that we were potentially one of those 42 teams that were no longer going to have a major league affiliation. And there was some rhyme or reason to why they did that. They were trying to do some things to improve player amenities. They were trying to do some things to reduce travel and try to condense the footprints of some of the leagues. And so they went through that process, and they came up with a draft list. And that couple of month period we went through, where there was no clarity on whether that list was legitimate or not, was really difficult for us. And we fought and clawed and did everything we could to try to find information, try to understand why different teams might have been on the list, if there were specific reasons why teams were on the list, to try to remedy those reasons. And ultimately, we did everything that we needed to do, and frankly probably should have been on the list in the first place. But by the time we had navigated that process, they had all the confidence in the world that we should be one of those teams that were affiliated. And unfortunately for somebody else, they didn't have that opportunity. So what turned out to be, or what we thought initially was quite a curse, and certainly a challenge to us professionally, emotionally, turned out to be a blessing, because we knew exactly where we stood, and as long as we were able to deliver on what we needed to do, we were going to be fine. And so we did, and we're here today, and our affiliation is through the 2030 season, like every other minor league team. And we're blessed for having to have gone through that experience, but it was hard, and especially following the loss of Chase, it was doubly hard. So you have to stay focused, stay motivated, and realize that there's probably a bigger reason for why you're being tested. And so I'm glad those tests are in the rearview mirror at this point.
All right, that pretty much wraps up all the questions I have for you. I just want to say thank you once again for joining me and doing this. I definitely found this very informative, and I hope that anyone else who watches this in my sport management class finds it informative. And I just want to say thank you once again.
Well, thank you for having me, and hopefully, there's some nuggets to take out of here. If it's not in sports, and then maybe there's something there in life.
Thank you very much.